Hello, everyone, and welcome to U.S. Ghost Tours. I'm Joe, your tour guide for tonight. We're going to be visiting the Lizzie Borden Axe Murder House and Museum. Let's get started. Mrs. Borden was last seen about 9 a.m. by her stepdaughter, the infamous Lizzie Borden, and the maid Bridget. Now, at the time of her death, Emma, Lizzie's older sister, was out of town. Mr. Borden, along with Uncle John, were in Fall River, and Lizzie was downstairs ironing handkerchiefs. Mrs. Borden was killed in the upstairs guest room. It was the very same room that Uncle John had stayed in the night before, and is the most requested room for overnight stays here at the Lizzie Borden Axe Murder House and Museum. There was no sign of struggle, no defensive wounds on Mrs. Borden. So that could mean a couple different things. One, she was facing away from her killer and wasn't able to or chose not to fight back. She was kneeling or standing facing away, or maybe she was just laying on the ground and that's where she was attacked. But even though we don't know that, what we do know is where the wounds were. We figured the first wound was behind the left ear on her head. There was another wound between her shoulder blades, 4 inches deep. And the remaining 17 were dispersed between her head and her neck. She was eventually discovered face down in a pool of her own coagulated blood. And a little trivia question for you. Does anybody know how long it takes for blood to coagulate? That's right, almost immediately. So we learned nothing from that. But what we do know is from the contents of her stomach and the blood evidence that she was killed about 9:30 a.m. that morning. That's a full 90 minutes before Mr. Borden was killed. In the photo that you see in the room, the living room here, you'll see there's a reflection of her body, and you can see that she's laying face down on her stomach, again, with the pool of blood around her head. And also in that picture, if you look a little closer, you can actually see the camera that took those photos. And this is mind-blowing, but this is the first time in U.S. history that crime scene photos were used on an actual murder scene. Kind of morbid. Fun fact, isn't it? Thank you.